Have you ever been scrolling through Facebook and see a link that sparks your interest, but once you open it, you realize it's fake and you've wasted your time? I know I certainly have, and sometimes it even annoys me when I think about the fact that one of my friends or family is one of the many people out there who are part of a large group who spread fake news, often without even realizing it, because they didn't look into the issue or read the article in depth. So that's why I chose to do my research paper on fake news. Before doing my research, I never really thought about the fact that fake news affects not only adults but also teens and children. Most individuals under the age of 30 don't get newspapers, watch the news on TV, or listen to the news on the radio. They get their news from other sources, such as trusted adults, social networking sites, blogs, and opinionated talk shows. The sources our teens are getting their news from are reporting opinionated news rather than objective news. As a result of their sources, our teens are skeptical about the idea of objectivity. It's come to the attention of many people lately that American students are struggling with the ability to judge fact from fiction. Because of this, some states such as Florida and Ohio are now requiring media literacy to be part of their curriculum. Media literacy teaches the students to focus more on the questions than the answers, because if we teach them to question what they're reading, they'll be able to better evaluate what they're reading in the future. One of my articles examines whether experience with fake news increases rates of truthfulness and plausibility. The experiment tested to see if fake news stories that were familiar would cause the participant to create a fake memory about having heard the story outside of the experiment. After 5 weeks, the participants who were exposed to the fake news stories rated them as more truthful and plausible than those who were not exposed. Those participants who had previously read the fake news stories were more likely to believe they had heard the stories from somewhere else outside of the experiment. The article goes on to talk about how fake news stories that are repeated enough will cause individuals to believe them more and can cause them to have trouble distinguishing which sources are reporting the truth. In another one of my articles, Daniel Leverton, a neuroscientist and published author, talks about how we are living in an age of misinformation overload, and how easy it is for people to create sites that look credible and authentic. All the likes and retweets that those sites get just sends out more and more misinformation. And as a result of the overabundance of fake news around the last election, Google and Facebook have taken steps to take care of the issue of fake news on their sites. However, we need to take some responsibility on ourselves for sharing the information without taking the time to stop and check the information before we share it. Because when we don't do that, we risk sharing fake news and furthering the spread of misinformation. And if we don't take our time to fact check our information, we're going to continue to see fake news increase. We must take some of the responsibility on ourselves, not just for ourselves, but also for future generations. My research has opened my eyes to the fact that fake news affects not only adults, but also children and teens. Our teens are using sources that report opinionated news rather than objective news, which causes them to be skeptical about the idea of objectivity. Our students are struggling to judge fact from fiction, and states are starting to implement media literacy into their curriculum to help them with this. Research has shown that fake news stories that are repeated enough will cause individuals to believe them more and cause them to have trouble distinguishing which sources are reporting the truth. We need to make sure that we're taking our time to stop and check the information before we share it. Otherwise, we risk sharing fake news and furthering the spread of misinformation. I plan to use all this information to show the negative effects fake news has on people and what we could do to take care of the problem.